All right, maybe we're going now.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, John. How's it going this fine Texas evening?
It's going quite well. It's going quite well. It was a lovely evening.
Yeah, it was nice. A little bit
Yeah,
of rain reminded me of home.
yeah. It wasn't. It was drippy this morning in particular. A little misty tonight. Yeah, it felt like October maybe in Oregon instead of December in Texas. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So,
So
how was your Thanksgiving?
um, I had a sick Thanksgiving in the
Oh,
sense that three out of the four people in the house were under the weather. And it's not clear what the cause of everything was. By the way, the fourth one of these things is not like the other was me, but the my wife and one of my boys got shots on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I think
mm.
that's what put them
Yeah.
under. And then my other one was just sick. But yeah, so
Mm.
Thanksgiving Day itself was a pretty let's say quiet day around the house with everybody kind of just laying around in bed. And
Yeah.
then I kind of was like, all right, I got to put the turkey in about 1, 2 o'clock, and then anyway, we still all kind of gathered around the table and had the traditional fixings. It was not hot dogs around a
It wasn't
campfire.
turkey dogs around a campfire this year.
Yeah, yeah. But so we had the mashed potatoes and gravy and stuffing and turkey,
Nice.
green beans, and I don't know. We always do the Pillsbury crescent rolls, and
Tradition.
tradition, and
Yeah. There you
they're
go.
you almost can't go wrong with them.
Almost can't go
Um,
wrong. Sounds like a
well,
story
there was a
behind
little
that.
story there, but that's okay. It's okay. We sacrificed the first roll of crescent rolls to the gods, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
that's all good. So anyway, so yeah, I kind of had a little bit of a quiet. It was good. It's a good thing that we didn't have. It was just going to be the family, the direct family, because
Nice.
yeah, everybody was like, "And now we're done." but I had gone to Costco a couple of days before and gotten a pumpkin pie, and so we
Hmm.
didn't wait till Thanksgiving to start that because those are gigantic pies, and we needed to,
Yeah.
you know. So, but it was nice, and then I just kind of spent the weekend, kind of trying to knock things off the to-do list.
Yeah.
So thankful I got all the irrigation winterized before we left because it's been very cold there, freezing.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm like, thank you. Hopefully no broken pipes. I mean, I won't know until
Yeah.
May, so we'll see. But yeah, got a lot done, and that was great. One of those things that I got done will be my something fun, and it's all
Nice.
good.
Yeah, uh, this was a Thanksgiving road trip. We traveled the 800 miles out to Utah for Thanksgiving at Grandma's house, and all the kids came in from college.
It's awesome.
Had a very nice, relaxing time. So good stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, hey, I threw one thing in to follow up,
I saw that.
which was I saw this on Zach Whitaker's list, which was a couple weeks ago. We talked about the arrest of the person in Canada from the snowflake hack.
Right. Yep.
Well, it turns out that at least one of the reasons why this person was unmasked was because he was threatening a woman on Telegram, and she happened to be a founder of a security company
Oh,
who specializes in unmasking individuals.
well, that's
So,
convenient.
unfortunate coincidence, maybe just kismet. I don't like. So yeah, it says, let's see, when the accused Kitchener-based hacker online known as Waifu threatened a woman on the messaging app Telegram, it was the beginning of his downfall. He threatened Allison Nixon, chief research officer at the U.S. cybersecurity firm Unit 221B, and Nixon is the co-owner of U.S.-based cybersecurity firm named after the home address of the fictional detective Sherlock Holmes. When she saw the
nice.
violent threats against her, Nixon tasked one of her researchers to investigate. And after evidently having perfect operational security is rare, difficult, impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So evidently there was a mistake made, although they did not disclose what it was to prevent others from learning from that mistake. It says a member of Nixon's team was able to follow the digital breadcrumb on the internet to the dark web and messaging apps to reveal waifu's real identity. And it says Unit 221B and Mandiant, the cybersecurity company owned by Google, found out who he was and passed the information to law enforcement. We put some time into that this year, and we are basically half the reason he got identified, said Nixon during a telephone interview. We've had that name for months. We've just been waiting for the arrest.
Nice.
So congratulations. And yeah, so she said the same thing. This whole situation is so ironic. He repeatedly threatened her and her company on Telegram, which were not even working on the Snowflake hack at the time. And here's her quote. Why would he target a company that is not working on his case and specializes in identifying cyber criminals? It is just the stupidest thing ever.
Welcome to criminals.
So there you go.
Welcome to the criminal mind.
There you go. So follow up on some.
Nice.
There must have just been some champagne uncorked in the Sherlock Holmes offices there. Anyway, so there you go.
Nice.
That's follow up from a couple weeks ago.
Cool.
How about topic from you?
Yeah. So I pulled a Krebs on security article, and we've been poking into a lot of phishing. Yeah. And I like this one because this is why the title is Why Phishers Love New TLDs. So the top level
which
domains,
we have talked about a number of times,
like .shop, .top, and .xyz. Mm-hmm. So there was a study done that finds new those TLDs that have been introduced in the last few years. It used to be just .com, .net, .org, and a few small random others. Now there's hundreds of them, and they found that while most the .com and .net domains make up about half of all the domains registered in the past year, they only account for 40% of all cybercrime domains. And the company that is doing this research, Interisle, I guess, says an almost equal share, 37% of cybercrime domains were registered through these new .shop, .whatever. And spammers and scammers, they say, gravitate towards these new domains because the registrars tend to offer cheap or free registration with little to no account or identity verification requirements. To the point where 9 of these different types of top-level domains charge registration fees for less than $1. So, by comparison, the cheapest .com domain is about $6. And then there's a chart in here that shows, in 2024 versus 2023, the .top TLD, they have 2.8 million, 800,000. So 800,000 of those domains, more than a quarter, were flagged as cybercrime domains in 2024. .xyz has 3.6 million, 475,000 are flagged. And so there's just a lot of these really cheap domains that you can go register usps.com-xyz.top or whatever. So that it kind of looks like a phishing domain. That's why, it's popular, is that they can make the names are a lot more available.
Sure.
On these kind of lower ends domains. But
there's a lot of let's say social-ish engineering thing there, like what you just said.
Yeah.
If that wasn't clear, USPS.com dash, and many people's eyes will just end at USPS.com. Oh, that's right. Valid. Right. USPS.com dash something else .top, and the .com dash random characters is it's tricky.
And so since anybody can register now for these new, you can go in and say, hey, I want to own a new .eric, .mostly security domain if you want to pay somewhere between $180 to $300,000 to own one. And so that's why they think, these folks who register these domains think they're going to make a killing. They'll hook people by selling them really cheap domain for the first sign up, and then they'll get them on renewal. But there's John Levine, the author of the book The Internet for Dummies, has a few comments in here. It's a quote from him. Selling to criminals and spammers turns out to be lousy business. You can charge whatever you want for the first year, but then you have to charge list price on domain renewals. And criminals and spammers, they never renew. So if it sounds like the economics make no sense, it's because the economics make no sense.
Although spending $300,000 for .top and registering $3.6 million, 3.6 million domains, even at $1 per domain, is not a bad margin, depending on how much infrastructure it takes for you to do that. But
yeah. So that's kind of the gist of it. But one of the things, couple notes, additional notes. It says the article mentions in virtually all previous spam reports, Inter Isle found the top brands referenced in phishing attacks were the largest technology companies: Apple, Facebook, Google, PayPal. But in this last year, 2024, Inter Isle found that the U.S. Postal Service was by far the most phished entity, with more than 4 times the number of phishing domains than the second most frequent target, which was Apple.
Interesting.
And then the second interesting quote here is that Inter Isle says that also an increasing number of phishers and hackers are ignoring the domain registrations altogether, not going to try to register mycoolwebsite.top, but instead taking advantage of subdomain providers like blogspot.com, pages.dev, weebly.com, all these website places that allow you to have something.weebly.com or something.pages.dev. And the report notes that the cyber attacks hosted at subdomain provider services can be tough to mitigate because only the subdomain provider can disable the malicious accounts or take down the malicious web pages. And you're probably not going to say, hey, blogspot.com is malicious. You're going to say something blogspot.com is malicious. So one of the other conclusions from the report from Inter Isle, many of these services allow the creation of large numbers of accounts at one time, which is highly exploited by criminals. If you can automate something and get lots of for free, someone will do it. Subdomain providers should limit the number of subdomains or user accounts that a customer can create at any one time and suspend automated, high-volume, automated account signups, especially when using free services. Seems like if you're providing that kind of free service, you would want to protect against that kind of stuff just from a cost perspective alone. I mean, ignoring the whole abuse and criminal advantage you give to criminals.
You'd think.
If you're providing a free service, you probably would want to make sure that the free service you're providing is going to lead to some kind of sale at some point. And probably someone registering hundreds of subdomains, not going to, you're really going to convert on those? Probably look good in your meetings. Hey, we got, N number of new subdomain signups this month.
Right.
Anyways, so there you go. That's the article I found this week.
Interesting. Yeah. It's not a brave new world. It's not. It's like it's been happening for a while, but yeah. All right.
There you go.
Nice article. Okay. My topic for the week is a blog, Gnostic.ai. So this is a company that's kind of in the LLM protection space, I'd say. So, but this blog is talking about a attack strategy against LLMs, and they're talking about two. They call it two different attacks, but I mean it sure seems like it's one to me, but with a couple of different interception points, let's say. But they're calling these flow breaking. So we make the claim that these attacks should be recognized as a new class of attacks named flow breaking, affecting AI ML-based system architecture for LLM applications and agents, logically similar in concept to race condition vulnerabilities in traditional software security. So they're not actually attacking the LLM, like with prompt injection or something like that, but really attacking the components around the LLM in the application architecture. So it says specifically the guardrails, we manipulate or disrupt the logical chain of the system, taking these components out of sync with the intended data flow or otherwise exploiting them, or manipulating the interaction between these components in the logical chain of the application implementation. So the two attacks they talk about in here are one called second thoughts. They're calling them second thoughts, and stop and roll. Both result in information disclosure. More importantly, the research team managed to bypass policy with a widely used successful LLM. Basically, they got it to emit a response that clearly violated policy and was rolled back if
right.
this wasn't here. So this is interesting. So the architecture they're exploiting is, if you go and reread the prompts for like Claude, who has made them public, there's a whole bunch of guardrails that are put in the prompt, that talk about how to phrase the response and what the tone should be and what to do and not do. But not all safety mechanisms are in the prompt today. So this is in, anyway, so the quote is, when confronted with a sensitive topic, Microsoft 365 Copilot and ChatGPT answer questions that their first line guardrails are supposed to stop. After a few lines of text, they halt, seemingly having second thoughts before retracting the original answer, also known as a clawback, and replacing it with a new one without the offensive content or a simple error message. We call this attack second thoughts. While the underlying design of guardrails isn't readily available, neither Microsoft nor OpenAI are really talking about how this is implemented. Our best guess from an architecture perspective, this happens because if a policy violation in the request or response is not identified in advance, they're streaming the answer to the user, but they're saying it's common practice to have a watchdog component that's monitoring the output, detecting issues, and if the streamed answer is flagged as problematic, it'll be retracted, deleted in the user interface, and replaced with either a modified answer or an error message. But if it gets streamed to the client, it's available. So they give 3 examples in the article, although I'm not really going to detail them here. But all of the examples follow the same pattern. They construct a prompt similar to a jailbreak, but as a timing attack. The answer streaming occurs in response. The answer triggers a guardrail. The response guardrail identifies the problematic content, and the guardrail triggers a retraction, which is sent to the web client using mechanisms like WebSockets, SSE, or REST controls. And then the web client revokes the streamed response from the user's display, replacing it with a message that indicates the response has been retracted for violating constraint. So blink and you might miss it, but their second quote attack, and this is why I'm like, it's really just sort of one architecture. But if you can time hitting the stop button for the streaming fast enough, you can stop it before it retracts.
Right.
And so, that's their stop and roll attack is that if the user clicks the stop button while the answer is still streaming, the LLM will not engage its second line guardrails. As a result, the LLM will provide the user with the answer generated thus far, even though it violates system policies. In other words, pressing the stop button halts not only the answer generation, but also the guardrail sequence. And if the stop button isn't pressed, then second thoughts is triggered. So that's kind of the attacks in here, which is interesting. And they were able to, they said, get a publicly available. Now, they didn't flag it, but the two examples they used in one of these was Copilot and OpenAI.
Right.
But so their final thing I kind of pulled out is that they sort of hypothesize that there are four main windows of opportunity for performing an attack against LLM in this way. So the first is if the forbidden information appears early in the answer or is short enough, it can be streamed to the client before the guardrail finishes running. So basically, if you can sort of get the answer to come early in the stream. The second one is streaming window. So guardrails may have determined the answer violated policies, but processing did not complete in time to prevent the streamed answer from reaching the intended audience. So the nuance between the first and the second one there is a little gray to me. Software exploitation, where a component is overwhelmed by the incoming requests or otherwise exploited, subsequently affecting the other components. So can you do a denial of service against the generator or the streaming guardrails? And then the fourth one is order of operations. Components are skipped or activated out of order, such as if the guardrails that govern responses are out of sync with those governing prompted content. So presumably these are different systems with potentially different life cycles. So if the way I read that at least is, if your output guardrails aren't updated at the same frequency or at the same time that you deploy new prompt guardrails, that you might have a inconsistency, and you can kind of get something through the cracks there. So
got it.
The whole LLM space is an interesting growing attack surface at the moment. So kind of just a fun thing to kind of learn about and read about. So there you go.
Keep your eyes on this space.
More to come.
All right.
How about something fun?
So the one thing I saw was, which I thought was cool. We like space things. I like space things. I know you like space things.
You could say we.
Yeah. Apparently a USC, University of Southern California, Rocket Propulsion Lab and the USC Viterbi School of Engineering has broken the international altitude record for a rocket they have designed and fired off. It's called the Aftershock 2, and it has reached further into space than any non-governmental and non-commercial group has ever flown before.
Okay. So it doesn't beat SpaceX, but it beats, I don't know. The rockets my kids and I launched when they were young. Well,
and just to give you how far it went. So the previous record has stood for 20 years.
Wow.
In 2004, a civilian space exploration team fired a rocket that reached 380,000 feet into the air.
Holy moly.
The Aftershock 2 beat that record by 90,000 feet. And it builds on the group's record as the first and only student organization to launch a student-designed and built rocket past the Kármán line in 2019.
What is the Kármán line?
The Kármán line is where we say this is below the Kármán line is aeronautics. Above the Kármán line is astronautics. That's where we arbitrarily decide 100 kilometers up is where space begins. So,
okay.
Anyways, so here's some of the data about this. After the successful launch of the Aftershock 2 took place on October 20th in the Black Rock Desert rocket launch area in Nevada, and the students, there's a link to their student white paper that verified the data was posted on November 14th. It was equipped with new avionics and improved safety for the data, so they gathered the data. The Aftershock 2 reached a velocity of 5,283 feet per second and Mach 5.5. So a mile a second. This student-built rocket was traveling. The comparatively lightweight rocket amounted to 330 pounds, was 13 feet tall and 8 inches in diameter. So,
holy moly, that is so narrow.
I know. I just thought that was super cool that they basically fired a
A
missile
pencil.
into space as a student designed and led group. Space exploration is just going to keep getting less expensive and sending things up into space. I don't know. I just thought this was cool. So go USC students.
Oh, okay, that is awesome. Okay, so sorry, how many kilometers is 470,000 square feet or 470,000 feet? 143 kilometers. Wow. Okay, that's amazing. That is super cool.
All right.
That is
There
super
you
cool.
go.
Okay, so my something fun was something that I started early in the break, maybe Wednesday, and wound up happening on Sunday, like almost like not long before dark. It was pretty funny. So there is a service. I don't know if you've ever used this. I'm guessing not.
Nope.
Called Get ChipDrop. GetChipDrop.com. And they've got an interesting business model. It's basically arborists, people who drive around in trucks that chop down trees or limb trees and have the big chippers on the back of them.
Yep.
They pay, and I think it's like $20 because they say, would you be willing to pay for $20 for the load? Anyway, they pay getchipdrop.com for, hey, give me a place where I can drop this load of chips somewhere near wherever they are. And so you, as a person, you can sign up and say, hey, I'll take a free load of bark chips. And, you may or may not get one at some point. So, and we've done this before. I probably didn't say anything on the episode. Why would I? But I learned something this time, which is why I'm saying it's interesting and fun. I think like Wednesday, I was like, I signed up, and and it could be at any point. And they have funny videos there's a video linked off their website that is like why you shouldn't get a chip drop, and it's all about like the end of it. It's like there you go, because there's no warning, you can't control how much they bring, and you might wait forever. Yeah, because they basically, if you have to put your name on the list every month. I think if your name's on the list for more than 30 days, they just drop it and so anyway, and they're doing interviews with people on the street that are like, why would you do this? And they're like, well, because like the entire neighborhood wants free bark chips essentially, and that's totally what happened. So my wife and I were out working Sunday afternoon, almost evening, and this truck comes barreling down the driveway, and she's like, what's that? And she's like, hey, that looks kind of like a chip truck. And they pulled up, and sure enough, it was. And so two things. A, it was like oak chips. They're beautiful. I don't even know what you'd pay for this much. Maybe many things, maybe more than one thing. Number two, there were a lot of chips. Like I think it might have been like 10 yards or something like that.
Wow.
And number three, and this is the thing that's really cool that I have to learn and use in the future. You know what happens to deciduous trees in the fall? They lose their leaves. So there's no leaves or like junk in the chips.
Yeah.
They're clean and beautiful and perfect. And so I'm like, oh, I got to do this in the fall, in the after all the leaves drop. And it doesn't work if they're chipping an evergreen, I guess, but and you can't control the types you get.
Right.
But but anyway, so like
you lucked out this time.
I totally lucked out. It was totally awesome, and I was like, oh yeah, dump them there. And then he started dumping, and then he had to pull forward to let more out, and then pull forward to let more out, and it like totally went all the way across my parking lot. I was like, pain in the butt. So like there's mad scramble. My wife hopped up on the tractor and started like consolidating the pile and distributing the bark chips, and I went, and once she had kind of moved stuff out, I literally went and got a leaf blower and started blowing all the chips off the gravel into the pile to try and prevent. Anyway, It was unexpected work, but also like super awesome. And the guy's like, "You want a second load?" And we were like, "Yeah." He's like, "How late can I come?" He's like 6. I'm like, "Oh, this was like 4." I'm like, "Totally." I was thinking like 10. But they didn't come back, so I don't know why they didn't come back. But whatever.
Okay.
You can only do so much, but I will yeah. Anyway, I was really happy. I was like, oh, that's totally exciting. It's awesome. And so if you for some reason want a yard of bark chips and you want to like come get them, you're welcome to them. But like I have I have to figure out where they're all going to go.
I would need to figure out how to get them.
Well, yeah, you don't have a truck.
Not anymore, no.
Yeah, well, I do have a truck, but anyway, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
All right.
Anyway, Eric, nice to talk to you tonight, and get home safely tomorrow.
Yeah, you too.
Ditto.
We'll see you, John.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.